here's how minicamp works. It's mandatory. If you don't go, you get fined and the team can't pay you back. Like there used to be a gentleman's agreement where they'd give the money back to you when you come back to the team eventually. But no, I think it's $50,000 a day you get fined if you don't show up to mandatory minicamp. So everyone shows up. And most players go through drills. They put on the jersey and the cleats and the helmet, and they run around and get a sweat and work with their position coaches. But when it's time to do, 7-on-7, 11-on-11, not all vets participate in that because football practice kind of sucks. It's hard. It's exhausting going against guys who are trying really hard to make the team and aren't as good as you, maybe a little clumsy, and they might step on your foot. They might poke in the eye. They might do a little bit more to make the team. I mean, it's brutal out there. It's football. Anyway, a lot of guys sit out. A lot of guys don't, though. Jerry Rice didn't back in the day. That was his thing. He was maniacal. You couldn't keep him off the field, and it's one of the things that made him the greatest. And having players like that is one of the reasons the Niners won 5 Super Bowls. And I think it's important to point out the guys on this team who are practicing in freaking June when they get no credit. There's no cameras on them. There's no glory for it. No one's really going to even mention it. George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Eric Armstead, Talanoa Hufanga, Brandon Ayuk, Jake Brendel. Those 6. Any of those guys could sit out. I mean, George Kittle, he's one of the best tight ends in the league. He's 30 years old. He could stop. He doesn't need to be out there. Christian McCaffrey, he's a running back. Like all the reason to preserve him, but he's in he doesn't miss any snaps with the first team. I mean, he doesn't miss any snaps that should be his. Doesn't give him to Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason comes in after him. Eric Armstead, he's over here making like $20-something million a year. He doesn't need to be out there. He's out there. Hufanga hasn't gotten paid yet. Ayuk hasn't gotten paid yet, so you kind of see why they're still proving themselves, but Nick Bosa's not out there. And Jake Brendel, he's 30 years old. He doesn't need to be out there, but he is. So I respect that. And to me, when you talk about leadership, that's leadership. This is a team that hasn't won the Super Bowl yet. They think they're going to by default eventually, but they won't. They're going to have to earn it. They're going to have to work a little harder, even though they think they've already worked as hard as they possibly can. And it starts now. You can't throw away off-season practices. You got to be ready to go week 1, which the Niners haven't been since 2019. They've started out slow 3 years in a row. It's either injuries or whatever. So someone needs to set the tone like, hey, these practices matter, and I'm going full speed, and you guys should too, but it's up to you. And Kittle, he had a 60-yard touchdown. He was great in minicamp. McCaffrey was great in minicamp and in OTAs. Eric Armstead was there every day. Brandon Ayuk, every freaking day. So I think those guys deserve credit. And you're talking about who's a captain. Those are captains. Don't tell me you're a captain and you stood and watched minicamp. Why? Were you afraid of getting hurt? McCaffrey was out there. Jerry Rice wouldn't have done that. Are you better than Jerry Rice was? I don't get that. You have a goal. You want to win the Super Bowl. Make something out of today. So those guys did. And it seemed like they challenged their teammates to do it too, and some guys weren't up to it. George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Eric Armstead, Talanoa Hufanga, Brandon Ayuk, Jake Brendel. Those are 6 captains right there. And a quarterback. How about that? Have to earn captainhood by showing up and not just showing up, practicing. Well, Kittle dominated today. McCaffrey dominates every day. Ayuk dominates every day. Those are captains. They didn't get any credit for it. They didn't get a bonus for it. There were no highlights on the internet. No one saw it. They just did it because they have freaking pride. Pride. It's a concept called pride, and they have it. Salute.